Mom. Good to see me. All right, amen, amen. Good. John, I can explain something. When he said about not having to put water in his truck, and you said you do, outside of West Virginia, people don't have to put water in their cars every week. Excuse me. I was telling somebody the other day, or we get on the phone, we got on a plane, I was coughing. And I was telling them, I said, they asked if I had COVID. I said, no. I said, I've got infectious tuberculosis. That no, nobody cares if we got that now, It's only COVID, only COVID. I want to mention this. I mentioned some things about the book table that your pastor mentioned, but this is a prayer request. My wife and her next youngest sister has a boy, 40 some years old. He's a man. He's saved, wife saved. And number one, the wife's name is Ashley, and she came down with cancer about a year ago, babe. About a year ago. Yeah. And so pray for her, but they have a 4-year-old boy. And the 4-year-old boy's got a heart valve that does not work. It needs to be replaced, but they're trying not to do that because if they do it now, as his heart grows, they'll have to do it again. And this boy is, we saw him when we were up there, babe, when we were up there. In January, we were up there and 4 years old, and the boy just sits, just very lethargic, and hadn't eaten for weeks. And finally took him in the hospital, or days ago, but not eating regular, and took him to the hospital. And they just said, we have got to do the surgery now, or he's not going to live. So his name is Zion, and the surgery is tomorrow, correct? Tomorrow. So if you remember, Zion is going to have open heart surgery. It's open heart. They're going to put a valve in his heart. And then if the Lord tarries, they're going to have to do it again sometime down the road. But remember Zion tomorrow in your prayers, okay? I'll mention things about the book table. And I tell people probably nothing there will help you, but it sure help us if you buy this stuff, okay? You guys going to mention this about the guy singing? If you guys would take a shower, she might stand next to you guys. I know she stands way over there, and I thought, I know what this is. Okay. Anyway, this is called, like what Turner was talking about dispensations, rightly dividing God's word through dispensations. And we were talking this morning. I said, if you ask somebody, what must I do to be saved? What's the answer? Believe in Lord Jesus Christ, thou shalt be saved. Matthew chapter 19, somebody asked Jesus Christ, how do I get eternal life? And he said, keep the commandments. Now, go soul winning with somebody, and when they say, well, what do I do to get eternal life? If your partner says, we'll keep the commandments, you're not going along with that, all right? So there is a difference. I'll tell you why people take a step back, I think, from dispensationalism. One of them is, like I told you this morning, they come from a background that doesn't really get into the book much, and so anything beyond the shallow end of the pool is too much for them. But a lot of people don't get into it because they're intimidated, like it's going to be hard to understand. And that's why I call this, this is the official name, rightly dividing God's word through dispensations. I call it Dispensations 101. You could tear the table of contents out of this book and use it to teach. So it is a very well-written book, very understandable. And so that is out there. What your pastor mentioned, because we fly in, when we drive in, we got the whole back of the truck full of books. But when we fly in, my folks down in Cincinnati, they ship the books. And so we try to do is just like maybe one of some titles. And so if 2 people want this book, we will give you steak knives. And just stand back and watch. It'll be fun. But no, the first person to buy the book, which since we only have one, they're about $1,000. But anyway, first person gets the book. And like your pastor said, you pay for the book, we'll put your name in it, and if we leave it on table as a display for the next 2 days. If somebody else wants that book that's already been purchased, pay for it like you just bought it. And then Kathy will have a sheet out there, and you put well, if you're not of course, here from the church, we'll just send it to the church. But when we leave, and I mean when we leave, we won't be at the airport, and that lady will probably already have the order made. And my folks in Cincinnati will fill the order for people who bought books, and we will pick up the shipping. So it won't cost you more for having not gotten it here. So that's how that works when we have one title. Now you'll notice there's several of my books that we have several titles of, or stacks. Nobody buys my stuff. Wise my stuff. Anyway, this is called The Fight for Life, the spiritual battle with chronic illness. People have chronic illness, diabetics, lupus, MS, things like that. This brother was, as a lost man, he was in Vietnam. He got into intravenous drugs. He got out of Vietnam, got saved, but by that time he had hepatitis C. His liver failed him. He literally struggled for 8 years on the mission field of Romania, fighting with his liver. Finally had to come back. They did a liver transplant. It didn't really do him any good. And I think probably within 2 months of us publishing this book, he went home to be with the Lord. Robert Murphy, in fact, one of his sons, teaches for us. And it is if you know somebody, if you have a problem with chronic illness, maybe a good thing for you. If you have a friend that has a problem with chronic illness, especially if they're not saved, it has a good chapter on salvation. So, and I read it. I don't read all of our books, guys. We publish for 25 people. I don't read everything. But I read this one and it was very well done. And it is a help. Now, this one, people have problems with two things: chronic illness, chronic pain. I don't have chronic illness. This is called living with pain. The answer to your question, no. My wife did not write it. Entirely too thin. She's working on a 2-volume set called Living with the Pain. But I told you this morning, I busted my neck, and it was almost 3 months. I broke it August 23rd. They didn't do the surgery till November 12th. And so if you broke your leg or arm, they didn't set it right for 3 months, it would never be normal, or as it should be. And so I've had, let's see, I had a surgery here, one here, one here. I got right back here. This is high dollar real estate. I'm holding out for more money for this spot, and they want to do another one. But I do deal with pain, and so that has been helped to a lot of folks. And again, it also has a chapter if you have a friend who has a problem with pain, and really there's a lot of illness and pain in our country. I have a pain, and it's in Washington, D.C. That's how bad my pain is. Okay. But anyway, so that has a chapter on salvation. So if you have a lost friend, you give that to him. This one is why we believe the King James Bible. If you ever anybody ask you that, that's obviously not an in-depth study. It's only about 27 pages. It covers the subject well enough for them to understand why we do it. Like, are we a cult? We're not a cult. Did you guys get the tattoo? Did you get anyway? So that is why we believe the King James Bible. My wife will be out there because she does all that. And somebody's going to ask this. Yes, we take credit cards. We do take. In fact, I got a pocket full of them last meeting. Hey, look, don't you believe in truth in advertising? Okay, listen very carefully. She has this thing on her phone, and we're going to swipe your card. You got that? So if next week you fill up my truck, what did you expect? We told you we're going to swipe your card right up front. But anyway, anyway, she does take care of that. And if you have any questions, because I don't even know what they're priced. I just give them away. That's why I stay away from the table. But we publish we don't even have everything we publish. If you go to daystarpublishing.com, we've got posters and shirts and all kinds of stuff. And a lot of, in fact, we've got a new book coming out from a guy up in Ohio. You go online, but Kathy knows what all that stuff is. All right, let me get this message. Point one. Yeah. Guys, I can preach this whole message, or we could take a really large offering right now and I cut it short. Because I am a Baptist preacher. I cannot be bullied or intimidated, but I can be bought. I gotta apologize for this. When they did the original surgery in '73, they messed up my vocal cords. They paralyzed them. I didn't talk for 4 months. After 4 months, I told my wife, I said, my voice is coming back. She went. Anyway, And then they did another surgery in 2008, and I lost it again because it does affect your vocal cords. So about a year ago, babe, about 2 years ago, something like a year ago, January 21, they did surgery on my vocal cords. Now think about this, okay? They run a camera down your throat to see your vocal cords. So the guy looks at him before surgery. He says, I'm gonna do surgery. Your voice should be back in 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, I'm talking like this. And I go into his office and he does not look at my vocal cords. Now, if you thought a guy's voice should be back in 3 weeks and it wasn't, wouldn't you say, I want to see what this guy's vocal cords look like? But he didn't want to see them, which I got a feeling he like hiccuped or something, because it was 9 months before they came back, and they have never come all the way back. It's a little bit weak. I use these a lot. So that's why I'm sorry if it gives me trouble. I want you to turn to 3 places in your Bible. It's funny, I was talking to Tyrone this morning, and we were talking, he was talking about his favorite verse was Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. That's what we're going to look at. Isaiah chapter 41, or 40, verse 31. And then I want you to go to Psalm 27, and I want you to go to Proverbs 27. So Isaiah chapter 40, and then Psalm 27, and Proverbs 27. Isaiah chapter 40, this will not obviously be the first time you ever heard this verse. It's the very last verse, verse 31. It says, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Now go to Psalm 27. And in Psalm 27, again, the last verse, verse 14, wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. And then in Proverbs chapter 27, look at verse 18. It says, whoso keepeth the fig tree shall eat the fruit thereof, so he that waiteth on his master shall be honored. Let's bow our heads and let's talk to the Lord. Father, it is good to be saved, God. And as it was already mentioned tonight, it's good to be in church. We are still free. There are people, God, we know that, you know that. There are people in this country, they would close the doors of this church. They would lock them up. And they do it today if they could. And as much bad as they've done in the country, our churches are still open. And God, if they ever do lock this church up, there will be people who will say, I should have gone when I could. So God bless these folks who came. There's probably somebody came tonight, didn't feel very good or whatever, didn't feel like coming. And they came, they did that for you. I hope you have been honored. I hope you've been worshiped by just that decision to come when they didn't feel like coming. But God, they did come for 2 reasons. They want something from you, and they want something from your book. God, if they don't get it tonight, it'll be my fault. So they need you, God. They need you to get Sam Gipp out of their way and out of your way. You can speak to their hearts and accomplish your purpose in each life represented. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen. Now let's just look at, you saw the first 2, and let's look at 18 again. Whoso keepeth the fig tree shall eat the fruit thereof, and so he that waiteth on his master shall be honored. I always say it this way. I don't know if you ever thought about it, but since you got saved, you know what you did? Every day since you got saved, you've been living at a bus stop. Now, what I mean by that is that, well, don't you go to a bus stop because you're waiting for somebody to come by and pick you up, take you where you want to go? Well, that sounds like where I've been living. Okay. I got saved and joined a bunch of people at a bus stop. I got saved in a church just like this one, except that was 5,000 people in that church. Now, guys, that is either a large church, an aircraft carrier, or the capital of South Dakota. And I got down that bus stop, and I got to be honest with you, I was only 20 years old when I went down that bus stop. And there were some white-haired old men that were at that bus stop that found another way to get where they were going. But I say it, we've been waiting, living our life at a bus stop, waiting for the Lord to come back and get us. Let me just give you this. I travel around the world and preach. We got the best bus stop. Yeah. Okay. I mean, if you want to gripe too much, no. We have got the best bus stop there is in the world. So ever since we got saved, we've all been waiting for the Lord to come back. And you've heard it. You've heard especially Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31, preaching about waiting on the Lord to come back. And that's not what I'm going to do tonight. I'm not going to talk to you tonight about waiting on the Lord to come and get us. I know you know to do that, and I may do that. Your pastor may do that, but there is another connotation to the word wait. Look at the verse. It says, "Whoso keepeth the fig tree shall eat the fruit thereof, so he that waiteth on his master shall be honored." We went out to eat today, and the lady that waited on us, her name was Jenna, and she was good. Do you ever have a good waiter or waitress? You ever have a bad one? Okay. Well, you look at verse 18, doesn't it kind of sound like that? He that waiteth on his master. Okay. And we talk about being servants for the Lord or servants of the Lord. And really, if you think about it, aren't we supposed to wait on him as a waiter or waitress? And so really, here's what this message is. Believe me, in being in ministry over 52 years, and I think about 40 of those have all been in evangelism, maybe a little more than that. We have eaten in some restaurants, and we have seen some waiters and waitresses. Some we have seen we never, ever want to see again, okay? And so what I want to talk to you about tonight is what makes a good waiter or waitress, because if my job is to wait on the Lord, then I want to find out how not to do it, and I want to find out how to do it, correct? And so I'm just going to talk to you about some waiters and waitresses that we have had in the years that we've been on the road. All of them memorable, okay? But I mean, a kick in the head is memorable. It's just not something you volunteer for. And what I hope you'll take from it is, hope I'm being a good waiter. Right. And think about it, guys. You ever hear anybody ever say this? You only had one job to do. Okay? You have one customer. I mean, have you ever been busy? Like, oh yeah, I had 2 customers. No, we only have one customer. There's only one individual that we should be concerned about pleasing and about waiting, right? So I think we ought to be able to get it right. And so I want to talk to you about some of the waiters and some good the aspects of a good waiter or waitress. The first thing, and I know this may not sound may not sound amazing, but it is. The first thing is that a waiter or waitress notices you. I said, well, of course they notice you. Oh, well, they don't always notice you. Kathy and I were we're in Florida. Now, I don't know who does this. They have like conferences, I'm sure, because like overnight, every restaurant in the country starts doing something different. Had you noticed about the last 5 years, when you walk in a restaurant, they want to sit you at the bar? Okay, they didn't do that before. And then overnight, I mean, we'll drive across 5 states, and all of a sudden they want to sit at the bar. I know what happened. They had some kind of a restaurant conference, and they said, seat them at the bar, you'll get them to drink and buy booze. And I don't know who told them to do this, but you ever notice that if you go in a restaurant and there's like only 1 or 2 tables, they set you next to somebody? Now look, we're not spies. We're not going to talk about anything clandestine, but why do you have, a whole room, a huge place, and they put you like right here? Well, this is what happened. We go in this restaurant in Florida. It was a large restaurant. We went in for lunch. And this may have told us something about the food now that I think of it, but the whole place was empty except for 1 booth. And there's 1 booth at the back. These 2 guys are sitting at it. And sure enough, they sit us right next to them. But that's okay, because that way I knew that the waiter knew we were there. Now, mind you, he's got 1 booth, and then he's got new customers, us. And for 20 minutes, what do they do when they take you to a table? They give you your menus, maybe they bring you some water, say your waiter or waitress will be with you in a few minutes, correct? Or if the waiter or waitress is busy, they'll go, oh, I'm going to get with you, I've got these people, correct? For 20 minutes, it was a large room. This guy would come from the kitchen and go to this booth and talk to these guys and then go back. He didn't even look our way. We never got a menu, never got a glass of water. If he would just said, I will be with you. I'm so busy. Yeah. And for 20 minutes, nothing. It's like we did not exist. I felt like I was at home. And I don't mean our home. I mean when I was a kid. But and so I told Kath, now there's a great truth. You know what the great truth is? There's a lot of restaurants in this country. You really don't have to take that. And I know what you might think, but I am not crass to people. I am not rude to them. I don't dress them down. I'm not mean to people. And so, but I told my wife, I said, babe, I said, there's too many restaurants in this country. I said, we can go someplace else and get a meal. So we're walking out and the manager steps up and he goes, how'd you like your food? Now, mind you, I was not going to stop and tell him we didn't get waited on. I'd already gone past him. I wasn't going to give the waiter any kind of a static, but the manager said, he said, how did you like your food? And I said, well, Doc, I said, we sat there for 20 minutes and the guy never even acknowledged we were there. And he goes, if you go back in right now, I will guarantee you'll be waited on in 30 seconds. I said, by an angry waiter? But you do know there are some people you don't want to get angry, and the guy carrying your food from the kitchen to your table, there's a lot can happen to your meal and I have all kind of visions of what could happen. And so, and I just told him, I said, thank you, I appreciate that. But I said, we'll just go someplace else. Well, look, we got in a truck, didn't go 100 yards down the road, pulled in another gas station, pulled in another restaurant. Well, it was kind of a gas station. Anyway, pulled in another restaurant, sat down, boom, 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 got taken care of, got a good meal, just that fast. But don't you think they need to notice you? I was in Austria some years ago, and we go into this, I'm with this missionary and some folks, and we go into this restaurant and nobody comes to our table. And I'm kind of thinking like, look, guys, I don't care what anybody tells you about Europe. This is the best country. Yeah. Okay. Whenever somebody says we need to be more like the Europeans, no. They need to be more like us. So I'm thinking, and so he sees, and I said, where's the waiter? He goes, he'll be here. The waiter will be here. Well, not only are we sitting there with nobody coming around, but there's a guy sitting at a table all by himself, and he's got a cup of coffee to stare at. He is just burning holes. See, look at it like this. All the time we're eating, sitting there. I thought maybe he remembers how the war turned out. I don't know. And finally, he's done with his cigarette. He puts it out, finishes his coffee, and came over and waited on us. Yeah. He was our waiter. And he didn't like us messing with his cigarette break, I guess. But guys, a good waiter, waitress has to notice you. Now, I don't understand this. I don't understand that we live in the country that has more time-saving devices than any nation in the world, and nobody has any time. When I lived at home, my mother never had an automatic washer. My dad did. It was my mother. But anyway, my mom had a Ringer washer. And she thought she was in high cotton when my dad bought her a 2-tub Dexter. And Monday was wash day. And the emphasis is on day. From morning to evening, my mom was washing all day long. And then she put it in the automatic dryer that was hung between the garage and the house. And ladies, now you can put it in this, you put this washer in there. I did this one time. I'm in a place, I'm trying to think I think it was down in Tennessee. And it was kind of like here, they had a missionary apartment in the church. And I talk about it being a man, I can't operate a washing machine. And I thought, Gipp, you can take a gun apart and put it together. You can operate a washer. So my wife wasn't with me. So I take all my wash, I throw it in the washer. And that's what I do. I'm sorry, ladies. The colors and the whites, totally integrated. Martin Luther King approved, my wife. And I could have washed it, but they had sabotaged the washer. Oh. They put 3 dials on it. One was hot, 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 cool, cool, cold, hot, cold. I said, we're talking about Christians. And the other one, it said like 10, 2, and 4. I thought, we're talking about Christians while we have a Dr. Pepper. I could not figure it out. I'm sorry. I took it all back out. And I told preachers, I said, get some woman to wash this stuff. I can't do this, okay? But we have got all these time-saving devices, do we not? And yet you talk to an American. Oh, I don't have any time. I don't have any time. I don't have any time. Oh, I just don't have any time. Guys, are we so busy? I think one of our problems is, look, I don't believe this. Let me tell you what I don't believe about you people. I don't believe you're rotten. I don't believe you're phony. I don't believe you're hypocrites. I don't believe you're pretending to be somebody in church. And as soon as you get down the block, you're somebody else. I really don't believe that. I think I'm talking to people that to the best of your ability, you're trying to please God. You want to please God, right? And I think that most of our problems with God, and I don't mean that we have a problem with him, but I'm talking about our issues are kind of something where we just drop the ball. And I wonder if maybe it's been too busy to ever notice the only customer you got. In fact, if you think about this, we are to serve him, correct? Now, I'm not smacking you, but listen to your prayers every morning and see if your prayers aren't you telling him how best to serve you. Oh, God, you can do this for me, and you can do this for me. Whoa, whoa, whoa. He doesn't have the apron on. He's not carrying the tray of water, okay? And, I've got a book out there. I'll mention it's called Your Purpose for Existing. And I think the greatest verse in the Bible is Revelation chapter 4:11. Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power. For thou hast created all things, that for thy pleasure they are and were created. You know what that means? I know this to be true about everyone. I don't know the will of God, the specific will of God for every person here, but I know the general will of God. Know what it is? Every one of us, every day, we're supposed to put a smile on his face. And every morning we tell him how he can put a smile on ours. And that is so backwards, isn't it? So guys, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like you needed to pray and when you got down, you didn't have anything to say? All right, here's what I suspect. Maybe he wants to talk to you. Sometimes, I feel like this urge to pray and I get down on my knees and I got nothing to say. Haven't sinned in 3 years. Everything's okay. Biden got in and I've had a lot of things to pray about, but really, when I get down, I feel like I should pray and I don't have anything, I think, I say, okay, God, maybe you want to talk to me. I'll just kneel here and I'll just wait and see if you got something to tell me, like, what will you have? What would you like to order? What would please you? Okay. So sometimes I don't think you turn your back on God. I really don't. I think we're just so busy. And our lifestyle, Americans are going. Isn't that true? And we're going so much that we don't have time to even find out or notice that our one customer is sitting in a booth all by himself being ignored by the waiter or waitress supposed to be taking care of him. I'll tell you something else. A good waiter or waitress does. They bring you what you want. Now you say, well, that's not remarkable. So you haven't been to some of the restaurants we've been in. Let me tell you what, when I go to a restaurant, you know what I am not interested in? My waiter or waitress's favorite meal in the restaurant. I couldn't care less about squid eyeballs deep fried. I don't care about anything they got. All right. We were in this restaurant one time, and this was back when I think Clinton was president. And me and a couple of guys were in there, and one of the preachers, he asked the waitress. He said, I can't remember what it was on the menu. He goes, "Is this any good?" She goes, "Oh yeah, that's good." So he orders it, and she brings it. It was not good. I mean, the poor animal had indeed died in vain. Okay. And it was so bad that when he says, "Ma'am," he said, "this is really not good." And she goes, "You really like this?" She goes, "Well, I've never had it actually." Oh. I said, "You better watch that line. You're liable to end up in the White House." But you ever have a waiter or waitress tell you what they want? So I'm not taking them out to eat. I don't care what they want. I want what I want. Guys, I do not think I am special. I really don't. I don't think I should be treated special. But when you walk into into a restaurant or a store, you are special. Let me tell you something. Some of you guys, you older guys, you remember this. Remember the mantra of business in America? The mantra of business in America from like the 1900 to about 1980 was the customer is always right. You remember that? The guy that runs my company for me, he still operates under that. We take stuff back from people that they have no right to send back, and we have no obligation to take back. But you know why they take it? Customer's always right. Even when they're wrong, the customer's always right. And then in 1980, from about 1980 to 2020, the mantra of business became the customer just needs to understand. Well, you just need to understand why we can't do what you want us to do. Did you ever get that? I did this, we stay in a lot of motels. And again, Kathy wasn't with me. I'm going out for Sunday morning service, and nothing like going out for Sunday morning and have them come and do the room at 4 o'clock. So on Sunday, we'll say, Kathy, we used to stop at the desk and I'll say, hey, going to be gone for about an hour or two. Could you have them do our room first? Oh, no problem. Well, I don't know what happened, but I never got back to my room for 8 hours. And I walked into my room after 8 hours, not a cart on the floor, and my room is not done. Now, when I ask them to do my room, and I come back and it's done, I call the manager. And I'll say, I asked that my room would be done in about an hour. And they go, oh, and I go, oh, no. I said, I'm calling you to tell you, thanks, they did it. I do. But 8 hours, guys, there's no excuse for that. Not when they said they'd have it done in an hour or two. So I called and I said, hey, I said, they told me my room would be done in about an hour or two. And I said, it's been 8 hours and there's not even a cart on the floor. Oh man, we'll take care of that. So boom, boom, 2 carts are there instantly. And then in walks the Amazon, the woman who is in charge of housekeeping. And I think that may have been the first transgender I ever met. Okay. Okay. I think he used to wrestle as under a different name in the WEF. But anyway, and this woman comes strutting in. She goes, sir, you just need to understand. And I'm sorry, guys, that's all the farther she got. I said, whoa, I need to understand. I said, 8 hours ago, I asked housekeeping to do my room. They tell me they will. Look, if they want to tell me they're not going to do it, I'll understand. I said, they tell me will. I come back 8 hours later, my room's not done. And you're telling me I need to understand? And she apologized when she came to. But you understand, guys, that's what happened. It was the customer's always right. And then from 1980 to 2020, it was the customer just needs to understand. Tell me if this is not true. From 2020, it's been, here's how we do it. We don't care if you like it or not. Guys, I fly all the time. My main carrier is Delta. And if you didn't wear a mask, they would throw you off a plane and say, you can never fly Delta again. Now, here's what that is. Can you imagine going to a restaurant and them saying, they said, you can never give us money again. Isn't that what they're saying? Just up the street from the church is a car wash. I always use it. So I pull my truck in to get it washed. And the kid that's running it, probably going to be president someday. He says, just let you know, starting the 1st of next month, we won't be taking cash anymore. And I said, no problem. I said, just let you know, starting 1st next month, I'm getting another car wash. You say, why? Do you ever notice every dollar we have says legal tender? It is legal tender for what? All debts, public and private. I tell those, when Louis and Vinny pull up, that's for the private. But guys, but they don't care. I mean, how many businesses have you seen that since 2020, they said, here's how we do it. And we don't care if we don't get your business anymore. Who's this? Kevin Costner, he's a liberal actor, and he goes, I don't care if I lose fans because of my political, views. Well, maybe shows up for his movies. Maybe he will care. But guys, a good waiter or waitress, they find out what you want and they get it for you. We went into a restaurant one time. This one, we had all 3 kids with us. We first went on the road in 86. Our oldest son was 10 and our youngest was 1. And they're now all grown and in prison. But we went in. You ever hear a restaurant described as a greasy spoon? Yes. Yeah. That's an honest name. All right. Honest. The boys and I, we had this. You ever notice that most salt shakers are wide at the bottom and narrow at the top? And we'd have this game where we'd see how far we could get off the table before it slid right back down because of the grease that was coated on it, And so we go in this greasy spoon restaurant. And they had an old, antiquated high chair. It didn't even have a seat belt for our kid. But that's okay, because when you put him in, he's stuck. You need a putty knife to get the kid out of, and then they charge you for the food. And this waitress comes over. Honest, I picked up my fork, and I said, do you think I could have a clean fork? Another fork? And she said, is there a problem with that one? I said, really? I said, yeah, last guy had eggs. Did she give you a clean fork? No, she charged me for the eggs. And and I'll be honest, guys, I am not a salad person, okay? I eat it every now and then, but I don't want anybody to find out. It ruin my reputation. But do you ever go one where they said, we have a deal, salad, a meal, and dessert? I'm a dessert person. And I will suffer through salad if you're giving me dessert at the end. and dessert was a bowl of ice cream. So they had salad and a meal and a bowl of ice cream. So we said, we want the special. So this waitress takes our order, walks right in the kitchen, and 30 seconds later walks out and puts our ice cream on the table. And I'm thinking, can she count 1, 2, 3? You know what you feel like when you're, I mean, I'm suffering through salad to get to the ice cream. And then we're eating our entree and we're just watching it turn to soup. You know, we had chocolate soup for dessert. A good waiter, waitress, they find out what you want and they bring it to you. You ever done that? Instead of telling God what you're going to do for him, did you ever get on your knees and say, what do you want? You know, I think some of us, we never ask God what he wants because we know what he might ask us for something we don't want to give. It's so many people. I'll tell you what happened. You may remember the kid. When I was youth director, I had a kid in the youth department. Not the most spiritual kid in the world, but he was a good basketball player. You got him, didn't you? And one day he walks in. Now, did you ever watch a non-spiritual person try to talk spiritual? They go into a tone. Yes. It's good to be in church tonight. So this kid comes into my office and he sits down across my desk, you know, and he goes, Dr. Gipp, I just want to let you know, I just gave my basketball talent to God.
What's it on?
Stupid me. I didn't even know God was getting up a team. And I said, you did? He said, yes. I said, you did? Honestly, he went, yes. I said, it's his to do with as he pleases. Yes. I said, okay. I said, what if he tells you never play basketball again? I didn't think about it. You have a Suburban. Okay. Let's say your preacher gives the Suburban to Tyrone. This is just an illustration, Tyrone. Don't get it. You know, don't get it. And he gives a Suburban to Tyrone. And the next day he needs to move something that's too big for his car. He thinks, well, you know what? I'll check with Tyrone, see if I can borrow the Suburban. He calls Tyrone. Can I borrow the Suburban? No. What's wrong with you, Tyrone? Oh, anyway. What do you mean no? I don't lend my stuff out. But I just gave you that. Well, fine now. I don't lend my stuff out. If you give your basketball talent to God, isn't it his? What if he tells you he doesn't want you to use it? So I said, what if he never wants you to play basketball again? Kid goes, I'll play anyway. Oh, well, the spiritual tone was gone, okay? Probably the shortest NBA contract God ever had. I mean, I can just see at that moment God going, oh, Gipp, there went my forward. Is that a basketball, please? Is that quarterback, whatever it is? But a good waiter or waitress, they give you what you want. You know what we do? We give God what we want. Here's what I'll do for you. Are so many people, they thought they knew what they were going to do for God. Has anybody heard of Tim Horton Donuts? Do you know that Tim Horton never opened a donut shop?
Pay attention.
He opened a chicken sandwich shop. Yep. It was just like a what do you call it? Like Chick-fil-A. He opened a chicken sandwich shop. But they also offered donuts. And nobody liked his chicken sandwiches, but they ate his donuts and it became Tim Hortons Donuts. He found out what the customer wanted and he changed his MO. Cheaper too. But guys, a good waiter, waitress, they get you what you want. Now this one gets to me. This is one that gets to me. A good waiter, waitress sweats the little things. You know what little things are? Extra salad, dressing, coffee creamer. We don't use sugar now, guys. I like sugar. Okay, I don't want you to think I don't like sugar. I love sugar. No, I don't mean the raw sugar. No, I want the stuff bleached, all the food value bleached out of it. Okay, I like sugar. I mean, if I pass out, cut that vein right there, put a little sugar in there. You know. In fact, I tell people I have a medical condition I don't tell many people about. I suffer from glaze withdrawal. But thankfully, Tim Hortons, Dunkin' Donuts, and Krispy Kreme have put up emergency clinics all across the country. And I said that, and this young guy came down to talk to me. And did you ever have somebody that was talking to you, but looking through you? He goes, could I ask you a question? I thought, that's a pretty good one right there. I don't know if the kid's going to get two in a row myself. And I said, sure, go for it. He goes, you talked about sugar like it's good to eat. I said, well, I tried smoking it once, pal. That didn't work. I said, drips down on your chins like it's worse than hot pizza cheese. You know, that triangle shaped burn you get on your chin when it slaps right, sticks right there. And this kid, I know it's hard for you to believe, but he got upset with me. And then he said this, and I kept a straight face. You'd be proud of me. But he said, sugar's just dope. He said, I quit eating sugar, and it cleared up half my mind. Now, can I ask you a question? How come I think the same thought came to your mind that came to my mind? Like we need to check your diet, buddy, because there's something else you need to quit, because you ain't all the way across the river yet, okay? You're about waist deep in the middle of the river. You got to quit something else to get on this side, or turn around and go back and use sugar, one or the other. And about over 10 years ago, I had to lose weight, and so I quit eating sugar. So I don't eat sugar now. I just look at it and lust. But did you ever notice no matter what you do, there's always some Christian brother or sister to tell you why you're not doing it right? So I'm out having coffee, and this guy's telling me about, when you lost weight. I said, yeah, I lost 62 pounds. How'd you do it? And I told him, I quit eating sugar. And I pick up these pink sweeteners. And he goes, that kills brain cells. And I said, yeah, I've heard that. I said, but I monitor myself very closely. I said, if reality TV ever gets interesting to me, I will know I have killed enough brain cells. Listen, when I tell my wife we got to get home to watch Dancing with the Stars, I am filling my cup with sugar. Okay, we got to rejuvenate some brain cells. But, all right, you get coffee. Now, my wife and I like a lot of cream. Now, I don't know how you define a lot, but it's more than two. Okay, like to these, one is and the second one is lot. And so you ask them, we need a lot of cream. And they bring two. And we go, could you get us some more cream? Like, bring a cow. And here's what they do. They go, here's what they think. That's a little thing. They got their meal. They got their coffee. It's just a couple of creamers. I'm not going to go all the way back to the kitchen and get a couple of creamers, or I like it when they bring a bowl full, really, because then you got a lot. I'm not going to go all the way back to the kitchen, come back to this table just for some cream, but I will be back over on that side of the restaurant somewhere around 2025, and I'll just take it by. It'll all be curdled anyway, but I'll take it by at that time. Guys, you ever try to put? Look, I like a baked potato with a lot of butter, only butter. And here's why. I have only one artery left that is not clogged. And every time I have a baked potato, we're trying to choke that baby off today. And I say, bring a lot of butter. First off, they bring me 2 pats, and it has been in the freezer since 1957. I mean, you could throw it and hurt somebody with it. And I think about doing that. But you say, I'd like a lot of butter. Could you bring some more butter? Well, did you ever put frozen butter on a cold potato? But if they don't go get it and bring it back, what good is the butter? Isn't that true? I'm not being a spoiled brat, guys. I'm being a customer. And I believe customers are right. I believe you serve a customer. And I don't believe anybody needs to serve me except when I go into a business, and then I expect to be served. I really expect that. Just like my business, we serve our customers. I mean, we serve them. I serve the Lord. You understand that? And so a good waiter, waitress, they get you the butter, they get you the sweetener, they get you the salad dressing, they get you the creamer. I have had this happen. I've had them come out, I tell them a lot of butter, and they didn't bring much. And I'll say, and they'll say, they go, anything else you need? And I'm thinking, Why are you asking? You're not going to do it. What are you, a Democrat run for office? And I'll go, yeah, I need more butter. And I've had them go straight to the kitchen and come straight back out and put down a bunch of butter. That's good waiter waitress. You say, why? They sweat the little things. Now, again, let me say this. I don't think I'm talking to a bunch of child molesters here. I don't think I'm talking to a bunch of murderers here. You know what I think I'm talking to? I think I'm talking to people who you're trying to serve God. And if we could see your list of sins, they wouldn't compare to some of the people that we're watching out on television at the 6 o'clock news. And you know what I think our problem is? We know that. We know we're not like them. I mean, haven't you ever talked to anybody, and don't they always say it this way? Well, I'm not as bad as so-and-so. Well, I know I work with a guy and he's a Christian. And I'm telling you, I'm not as bad as him. And we condemn them for that. But you know what our problem is? We say, well, I don't have this. I don't have any bodies buried in the backyard. I've never been to Epstein's Island. I only got a little sin. And because it's a little one, we think it doesn't matter. But it matters. Sin has color. We sing a hymn, sin was as black as can be. Sin is not black. According to Isaiah chapter 1, verse 18, it is red. And when you get saved, you are white. Before you got saved, from the top of your head, the bottom of your feet, you were red. And when you got saved, I don't know if you ever thought about this, but if you got saved at an altar, you got down on your knees, red from the top of your head, the bottom of your feet. And after you trusted Christ, you got off your knees, white from the top of your head, the bottom of your feet. Boy, if we could see like God could, wouldn't we know who's saved or not? And let me tell you something. You will never, ever be red from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet again. Question. You ever eat spaghetti? But did you ever wear spaghetti? People got, do you know why preachers wear ties? You have no idea how much food is under here. This is the drop zone, okay? I mean, I got some ties. You could feed a family of 5 right off that one time. And I can't remember what I was going to tell you now. What was I talking about? I think the 3 of you are in 3 different services. Can you, huh? Oh, he's still putting water in his. He didn't even. Thank you. That lady's great. That's why I married her. That's why I married her. Spot. Now, if I came here with a white shirt on, and right there was a spot, red spot, would you notice it? Now you might say, is that ketchup? Is spaghetti sauce? Is it raspberry jelly? You wouldn't know, would you? But you know it was a spot. You ever talk to somebody and you walk away going, something wrong there. I don't know what it is, but I saw a spot. And because we have a spot, we aren't red from top of our head by bottom feet. So we think I'm okay. And guys, if you got a spot, you don't need to be resaved. You just need to be rewashed. Sometimes I get a spot and my wife will take it and she'll get a wash rag with some soap. It's gone. She doesn't have to put it in the washer. She doesn't have to iron it. Always hurts bad when she irons them. I said, are you sure I'm supposed to have this on, Kathy? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. But guys, if this is all it takes to be completely white, why are you accepting a spot? Because it's a little thing. And that is our problem. Our problem is that we're not like those people out there. And we really think the same thing. We won't say the same thing out loud, but we think the same thing. My sins, hey guys, I'm going to tell you something. I am nothing like Joe Biden. All right? But that doesn't justify a spot. And that's our problem. A good waiter or waitress has a good attitude. Now, let me tell you the difference between women and men. Okay, well, no, we can't do that. But here's what it is. A man wants something done, and a woman wants it done with a good attitude. Here's what happened. Kid comes home. Hey, Dad, they have a football game. Can I go play? I told you got to mow the grass first. Mow the grass, and then go play football. Well, Dad, they're starting in about 15 minutes. I'm going to be late. Then you better start mowing. Now, you who have teenage sons, never buy your teenage son an electric lawnmower. You don't want anything that goes, no, you want, get a gas one, take the muffler off. You don't want to hear what this kid's saying. You know, he's going out of, I mean, he's taking the top off of roots, you know, he's slinging gravel into the side of the car. And mom goes, look, he's mowing the grass and he's singing. He's not singing, honey. He's not singing. I hate mowing the grass. I wish the mower, blah, blah. And then, you know, he shuts it off. The old man says, okay, leave it there. Put it away when you get home. Just go play. Yeah, I will. So he comes home. There's the mower. Push it into the garage. And who is standing there? But mother. I saw him on the grass. Oh, yeah. Dad told me I had to mow the grass before I went and played football. So I mowed the grass when I played football. Well, I know you did what you were told, but it didn't count because you didn't do it with a good attitude. God save us from a good attitude. Man, I mean, I don't understand a good attitude, but let me say this. I don't want a waiter or waitress with a bad attitude. Okay, I don't want that. This happened. Now, you can ask Ben. I teach the young men how to preach. And I tell them the one single great truth of preaching. There's only one great truth of preaching. If you get this down, anybody can be a great preacher. And here's what it is. In lieu of conviction, intimidation will work. Now, how that works. See, when we preach, here's what we're hoping. We're hoping to say something that God taps you on the heart and says, amen. He's saying, you got that? That's called conviction. If I can't get the Holy Spirit in here to get you in a conviction, then I'll make you feel guilty about something and you'll think you're in a conviction. That's the truth. I'm telling you, that is the truth. I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to get you guys all, I'm going to get you all guilt tripped and you cannot stop me. All right. Tell me this. You don't want lost people to go to hell. Yeah, I got you. Oh yeah. Why? And how many of you witnessed 100 people this week? We didn't witness 100 people this week. You don't care about loss. I don't really care about loss. That's intimidation. And everybody thinks they're the resident Holy Spirit. Did you ever notice how there's always a Christian trying to get you on a conviction about something? So these preachers, I wasn't there. These preachers, you know, they're getting a cup of coffee, they're getting lunch, whatever it is. And their waitress just had a bad attitude. Now, if you don't like waiting on people, you're in Pennsylvania, get a job in a coal mine. Work at a refinery. I mean, really, if you don't, well, I don't do well with people, then why'd you get a job as a waiter? But this woman was just very crass and rude. And finally, one of these preachers had enough and he said, ma'am, and he didn't get ugly, but he dressed her down. He said, ma'am, he said, you have been rude. You have been, short with us. And he said, your attitude stinks. He said, you need to get a better attitude. So she walks off. And one of the other preachers who thought he was the Holy Spirit said, now, how do you know that she doesn't have a heavy heart right now? Maybe someone that she loves died. And that's why she's like that. Oh, yeah. That don't stick on me, guys. You know what I think? Now tell me if this isn't true. How does she know somebody I love didn't just die? Right? I tell the guys, I don't care what just happened 5 minutes before service. You put it out of sight. You come to this pulpit. Don't get up and play your violin and tell everybody what your sorrow, your sad story is. I don't care what the problem is. They don't need to hear it. You understand? And a good waiter, waitress has a good attitude. There's a restaurant, and it's in a little town of Dell, Montana. Like there are more people in this room than there are in Dell, Montana. Okay, it's 25 people in Dell, and that's because they don't know they're allowed to leave. And there is a restaurant there named, it's Ruth's, and the waitress' name is Ruth, and she's probably not there anymore because this is like 20 years ago. And I don't know what her last name is, but I think it's Les. And I think Ruth is like she's a retired professional wrestler or something. I mean, this lady, she was known all over Western Montana for being just the rudest waitress. That was her thing, you know. She'd come out and go, "What do you want?" I mean, she would just glare at you and, "What do you want?" Why, that's not very good. You don't want that. So this preacher took his father-in-law and his mother-in-law to Ruth's place. Now I can understand why a man would take his mother-in-law. It would have showed there was somebody worse than Ruth. But anyway, so this guy, his wife ordered trout. And she, and he literally, Ruth comes out, "What do you want?" "Yeah, what do you want? What do you want?" She goes out there. So the preacher is situated so he can see the door to the kitchen. And his mother-in-law is facing him. So he sees Ruth come out with all these plates. The mother-in-law doesn't see it. And she's leaning over talking to her husband when Ruth sticks her big old hairy arm in there, you know, between them and plops this plate down with a fully equipped trout. Head, eyes, everything that it had when it came out of the creek is still there. And now I am not interested in eating anything that is looking at me. Okay. I am sorry. It just doesn't do anything for me. And it startled this woman, and she went, "Oh, Ruth." She goes, "What's the matter?" "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just not used to my fish having the head on it." That better? She did. "Well, man, you eat the fish or she'll rip your head off next." And I'm sure it was a joke. I'm sure it was the draw, but nobody wants to go to a restaurant. You guys ever take your wife out? You want to have a nice night and you got a bad waiter or waitress. They can ruin your night. And a good one can make it. Isn't that true? So a good waiter, waitress has a good attitude. And I really do think this. I do think we should serve the Lord with a good attitude. I mean, guys, we're going to heaven. Now stop and think about this. Here's what I explain. I understand my salvation based on the whosoever clause. He said whosoever, and I found out about it. And when I'm on my knees asking the Lord to save me, God in heaven might have been looking down going, "Oh, Gipp, I don't even want you up here." But I said whosoever, and you found out. So he said whosoever, and we got in, right? Okay, if he had saved you and never done another thing for you, wouldn't you be better for it? Yeah. I don't know anybody did that with. I know, I'll ask this question. My wife can put her hand up on this one. How many of you got saved at a very young age? Okay, you got the best testimony in the room. You know, I was 20, I was a Roman Catholic. I was a thief, I was a drunk, I was a Democrat. And you know, sometimes we get up and we give our testimony, and young people have been saved young. They go, "Man, I don't have a testimony." You just raise your hands. You got the best testimony in the room. You do not have to be out in that world. You don't have to fall. Look, you don't have to fall into a septic tank to appreciate a shower. Isn't that right? So I say this, some of us got found in a ditch. If he didn't find you in a ditch, man, you're doing good. But isn't this amazing that after he saves you, he'll let you serve him? That just amazes me. And he lets us serve him. And I think if I didn't get a chance to serve him, if he would, like if I said I want to serve him, he says, "Oh no, Gipp, I know you. I don't want you to." Look, if he'd let anybody serve him, you guys knew Collingwood, he will let anybody serve him, all right? And I said that because he's not here to do anything about it. But really, guys, we get to serve him. Why would that not please you? These people, like I say, they act and they're sports, they're athletes. They don't get to do nothing like what we get to do. We don't get to serve a king. We get to serve the king.
That's right.
Isn't that true? And he's marking down everything. He's got it all recorded. He's not going to miss anything. He's not going to overlook something you did. And and it's going to last forever, what he gives us. Isn't that true? Man, how could you not have a good attitude? Let me tell you about this family. It's a Roman Catholic family when I was in school named Sharver. And they had 9 boys. You never mess with a Sharver because there were 8 behind him. Okay. I mean, up and down the scale, there was somebody that was going to take care of you. And they were friends of mine. And guy who was my age was was Bobby Shaw. And over his house one day, and his 9-year-old little brother comes in to the room we're in with his brother's shoes like this. I mean, without being asked, this little kid comes in and he goes, I shined your shoes, Bobby. He said, is there anything I can do for you? I said, do you sell those? I want one of those right there. Okay. But could you imagine, instead of saying, I got to go pass some tracts for God, I got to give to God, I got to try to win somebody to Christ for God. I mean, wouldn't it be like we get to do this again? And so, guys, I don't understand why we would not have a good attitude. So a good waiter waitress has a good attitude. A good waiter waitress seeks your satisfaction. I remember one time I took Kathy out. We'd not been very, very long. And I mean, when we went out, it took like 5-6 weeks to save up enough money to go out. Now, I'll tell you right now, if I go out, order a steak, I like it medium rare. If they bring it well done, I eat it. But I'm taking my wife out. My wife likes, she likes it medium rare. I like it medium rare. So we go into this restaurant, the waitress comes over, she goes, what do you have? We ordered 2 steaks. How'd you like a medium rare, medium rare? So she goes back in the kitchen, we get a little bit of coffee and salad. And she brings these steaks out. Now, you're in trouble when your steak is shaped like this. Oh, no. And it's this thick. And it looks like my belt. Okay. And so I'm a little bit of a part-time prophet. And I kind of, before I cut this, prophesied that it was not medium rare. And sure enough, man, I mean, it was cut. It was just cooked all the way through. Kathy's was cooked all the way through. Ordinarily, we go ahead and eat it. But I'm taking my wife out for a nice evening meal. And so I called the waitress over. She comes over and she says, is there a problem? I said, when we ordered these steaks, how do we order? She goes, you order medium rare. I said, look at that. Oh, that is not medium rare. I'm going to get you 2 more steaks. That's a good waitress. Back to the kitchen we go. We get some more coffee and more salad. And I'm glad we cut those steaks, because had we not cut them, I'd have thought she brought them back out to us. I mean, cooked. They just looked cooked all the way through. She drops them on the table, and they broke. And she puts them down and she walks off, and I cut all, but cooked all the way through. Kathy's cooked all the way through. I love my wife, guys, and I want her to get the steak she wants. She was her problem. I'm just saying, never looked at the plate. It's just kind of like. And I said, when we asked you for these steaks, how do we ask them to be cooked? She said, medium rare. I said, look at this, because that is not medium rare. I'm going to get you 2 more steaks. Now I'm getting under conviction. I told Kath, I said, they're going to kill every cow in the state. So that think of all the hungry kids in China that want those rotten steaks we just sent back. And so we had some more coffee and salad. Now, she brought out the next 2 steaks. She did not have to. She could have pointed to our table and they could have walked there themselves. Did you ever have a steak and you could have a transfusion at the same time? I mean, they weren't medium rare. They weren't medium. They weren't rare. They were raw. I could have taken them home and cooked them. I mean, the purple price tag was still stamped on the side of it. And she brings these steaks out, and I can't prove it, but I said, I'm pretty sure back in the kitchen, the cook went, gave this to them. And I'm looking at these 2 raw pieces of meat. I mean, they were cold. And the waitress, she comes over and goes, is there a problem? I thought, are you blind? Anyway, I said, when we order these steaks, how do we order them? She said, medium rare. I said, look at that. She goes, well, those aren't even cooked. Wonderful woman, tremendous. And then she said this, what can I do for you? How can I make this right? And I said, if you would do this, ask your manager to kill that cook. No, I said, ask your manager if we can pay for the coffee and the salad, and we'll just go someplace else to get a steak. And so she talked to the manager, and she came over, she came back, said, manager said you can just go. And we went down the street, and we got 2 nice medium rare steaks. Have you ever gotten something, there was something wrong with your meal and they took it off your bill? They should. Or they'll say, I gave you free dessert. They should. You say, why? Because you better be satisfied. A preacher took me out to eat, and that happens a lot. And I got some kind of a piece of meat, but man, you ever taste it when it was that sickening, sweet, spoiled taste? I took a bite of this beef and it was spoiled. And I called the waiter and said, I think this piece of meat is spoiled. And he goes, okay, what do you want? What do you have? I said, well, I'll have, this. He got snipped. He goes, well, if that was bad, it's all the same piece of meat. The other would be spoiled too. You should not smart off someone like that who has a steak knife in their hand. Never mind. I won't tell you what happened after that. And so I ordered something else, and then he comes out and goes, the cook checked and that meat was spoiled. I thought, oh, now it's official. It wasn't spoiled when I say it's spoiled. But he didn't even take it off the guy's bill. I wasn't paying for it. I'm the guest. But he didn't take it off the guy's bill. He should have. Or he should have said, hey, I'm going to give the preacher a credit towards something. You understand? You know why? Because you better be satisfied. If you ever got a bad meal, you can get a bad meal and say, I'm coming back here because the way they took care of you satisfied you. Is that not true? But man, if they don't take care of you, guys, I told you, there's a lot of restaurants. You don't have to go back to the same one and get the same bad stuff. A good waiter or waitress, I'm about done. 45 more of these, I'll be done. But this is it. Have you ever had one, they waited, they brought you what you wanted, they got your food there, got all the stuff you want, and then, like they are kidnapped by Muslims, you never see them again. That you see them on the other side of the restaurant, talking to somebody or working on their phone. I mean, a good waiter or waitress checks with you regularly, don't they? I have had it happen. I'm going to say this about Chinese restaurants. You can't empty a water glass in a Chinese restaurant. You get about halfway and there's always somebody saying, they fill in water glasses. Man, I have been in a restaurant, my water glass is empty, my coffee cup is empty, and I'm choking. And I think my waiter's kind of happy about that. But anyway, and you know how, like you put you go like this? Yeah. And have you ever seen those waiters or waitresses that have perfected walking past somebody and never making eye contact? Yep. I thought, could I trip them? I told Kathy, I'd say, you think if I throw this glass across the restaurant, they will notice us? Maybe if I shatter it on the floor right by us, now the crew that comes to clean it up will say, something I can do? Yeah, bring the next glass with water in it. But they check on you. And have you ever needed something and they just never checked on you? Guys, again, how often do you check with the Lord? You ever had a waiter or waitress come back and go, now, is everything okay? Is there anything else I can do for you? Don't you feel good when they do that? Even if you don't need anything, don't you feel good when they serve you like that? Man, how do you think the Lord would feel? Let me explain something. I write books. Not a big deal, but I write books. And I write books. They're not transcribed sermons. A lot of guys, when they say I wrote a book, they just typed out a sermon. I write books. I research. And when you put a lot of work into a book and somebody says, I read it and it helped me, it's like the work was worth it. That's why when you think about what God put into this book, every now and then you ought to say, boy, it's a good book. And when somebody has worked hard, when a waiter or waitress, they come back and say, is everything okay? They want to find out, make sure that you're satisfied. It's like they care about you. And it helps you. So a good waiter or waitress, they come back and they check on you. Wouldn't it be something if we said, at the end of the day, did I put a smile on your face? Did I check on you today? Did I get you what you wanted? Are you satisfied? I mean, guys, we only have one customer. We ought to be able to satisfy him. Last one. A good waiter or waitress will impress you. If you've ever had a super waiter or waitress, now let me tell you what we do. If we have bad service, I don't go to the manager. I don't say anything negative. I don't get in the face of the waiter, waitress, and we give them a good tip. Please, please. A track is not a good tip.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling them how they can get to heaven. Do you understand? They don't understand the value of that. And you're going to leave a track and not leave a good testimony. So give them a good tip. But if we get a good waiter, waitress, we give them a real good tip. That's the difference. Bad waiter gets good tip. Good waiter gets great tip. And let me tell you about the most impressive waiter I ever had. And he just did not seem like he should be a waiter. I think he was out of his element, but he was something else. When I was pastoring up in upstate New York, about 8 of my guys, the men, we went out for breakfast one morning, and it was to a ma restaurant. And we sit down. So there's 9 of us sit down here for breakfast. And our waiter comes out. He's about 18 years old, and he had to be the entire backfield for the high school football team. He's about this broad. He's got a head like this. He's got this much neck. He has no pen, no pad. In fact, he just said, here's what you're having, and here's what and we all ate it. Anyway. But he didn't bring anything to write anything down. So that gets my attention. And he says, what do you have? So I told him what I wanted, how I wanted my eggs, told him everything I wanted. He goes, okay. Looks next guy, what do you have? And he goes around this table to 9 different guys. I mean, one guy wants wheat toast, one guy wants rye, one guy wants white toast, one guy doesn't want that, he wants a fruit bowl, one guy wants his eggs over medium, the other guy wants his cooked hard, one wants boiled, one scrabbled. I mean, and I'm thinking this is going to be a memorable breakfast, one way or another. This is going to be a memorable breakfast. So I watch this guy take this order, and I'm all the time we're talking, I'm not thinking about, all I'm thinking about is what's happening in the kitchen. I think he probably went out, got in his car and left. Didn't even work there. And here he comes with the breakfast platters. And that young man laid down everything we ordered. He laid it in front of the person that ordered it. It was cooked the way they wanted, along with what they got, their side order. There wasn't one case of, oh, I got his white toast, I wanted, not one. He laid everything down in front of everybody exactly the way they ordered. There wasn't one thing that had to be changed. That's what I said. That's wow. Wouldn't it be nice to impress the Lord? I mean, wouldn't it be something if your service was so good that God said, hey, let me tell you about him. Let me tell you what they did for me. I can't believe I don't get many Christians do this for me. Let me tell you what they did for me. Would it be nice if our service for the Lord was so impressive? They just up there in heaven saying, you guys got, watch this, watch this. That's what we need to do. But now let me ask you this. Everybody, we give tips, right? When do you get the tip? Don't you get the tip at the end of the meal? I've never met a Christian yet didn't want a good tip. Now I believe in tipping waiters or waitresses. I don't tip anybody. Oh yeah, we tip the guy that carries our luggage at the, puts it on the thing at the airport or the hotel, something like that. But did you ever notice now you got a mouth breathing teenager working the register, and he's got a tip glass, like, I did my job. Everybody thinks they need a tip. No, they don't need a tip. Waiter, waitress, they deserve a tip. And you get a tip according to the service that you gave your customer. So I know everybody wants a good tip. Let me ask you this. You think you merit one? You think your one single solitary customer has been positively impressed with the service you gave them? You didn't have anybody else to wait on. You weren't you weren't busy. I mean, come on, you've been in restaurants where somebody had a whole section and they are running, they are hopping. And when they do that, I got no problem. I understand it. But we only have one person that we have to serve. We have only one person that we have to please. Right. And most of the time we don't even ask him, what can I bring you? What can I do to satisfy you? Did I get you all the little stuff? Did I take care of all the little stuff? Do we go back and check to make sure? Because everything was fine 4 weeks ago when I prayed. I'm sure it must still be good. You see what I'm saying? Guys, wait on the Lord. We wait on the Lord. What does it say? Whoso keepeth the fig tree shall eat the fruit thereof. So he that waiteth on his master shall be honored. Let me tell you this. I hear you young people. I like to hear young people singing. And I don't sing because I like you. Don't make me mad. Don't make me sing. I was once arrested for attempted music. But, some people, they got talent. I know people they're very artistic. They got talent. And you might sit there and say, I can't sing and I can't draw. There's nothing special about me. When we get up there, stop and think about this. You know what he says? Well done, thou what? Good. And he only checks two things. Good and faithful. He didn't say, you were the best. You sang better than anybody else. You played basketball better than anybody else. He doesn't check any of that stuff that you think you're so inferior about. Let me ask you something. Can't you all be good? You say, how do you be good? You know what bad is. Don't do that. Really. And faithful. Be here every time the doors are open, every time the lights are on. Pass the tracts. Give them out. Knock on a door. Witness to somebody. You understand? He's only checking on two things, good and faithful. But if we had a waiter or waitress, wouldn't that be a good description? And if they were good and they were faithful, they checked on you, they made sure you got what you wanted, you give them a great tip. And I know every Christian I know, we are so interested in that tip, but we aren't interested in earning it. I'd like you to stand with your heads bowed. Now I'm going to say this again. I don't think I'm talking to a room full of baby killers. I really don't. I don't think I'm talking to a room full of hypocrites. But if the Lord came back tonight, what kind of tip do you think you get? I didn't say what kind you want. I said, what kind you think you get? You know what I think? I think some of you haven't thought about your service. Oh, you all thought about the tip. You thought about the rewards. You thought about the honor. But do you sweat the little things? Or do you think because you got some little red spot on you, you're not like those people down the street. You're not red from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. But you got that spot because it's so little. You think you don't have to take care of it. Do you make sure he gets everything that he wants? Instead of you getting what you want, do you make sure he gets what he wants? Are you inconvenienced for him? Will you go all the way back to the kitchen just to bring him a couple more creamers? Because that's what your customer wanted. Most Christians I know, they don't want to be inconvenienced for God. It's not even martyrs. They don't want to be inconvenienced for God. So I'm going to have a word of prayer. When I get done playing, then the piano is going to begin to play. And maybe you just want to come up and talk to God about your service. Now, if you should look at your service and think maybe you dropped the ball a little bit, I've got good news. I got two great truths. You know what they are? There's still time to do something for him because he hasn't come back yet and you haven't died. Which means if your service hasn't been really up to par, there's still time to do something. Maybe somebody needs to say, Lord, I've been more preoccupied with you serving me than me serving you. I need to get this thing straightened out. Father, thank you for your goodness and your grace, your very great kindness. Thank you, God, that you would allow us to serve you. I could even understand why you would look at me and say, I don't want somebody like you serving me. I understand that. And there might be somebody else in here. They know themselves well. They could understand why you wouldn't want somebody like them to serve you. But you really are equal opportunity. You'll let every single one of us serve you. And I don't think, God, as I said it already, I don't think I'm talking to a bunch of hypocrites and deceivers and people who pretend to be one thing inside this church. And as soon as they get around the corner, they're a whole different person. I don't believe that's who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to serial killers and horrible people. I'm talking to people that, to the best of their ability, want to serve you. But I think some of them haven't thought much about their service. And if tonight got your waiters and waitresses thinking about their service to you instead of your service to them, then it's not been futile. So maybe tonight, God, somebody who hasn't given you such good service, We'll see to it that they do now. And that will be good for you and ultimately good for them. So God, I pray that you're pleased with the decisions your people make. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. With your heads bowed and eyes closed, as piano plays, if you need to come and talk to the Lord, why don't you come? Lord, how's my service been? Do you check back on him regularly? Do you even notice him? Do you get him what he wants? Do you sweat the little things? I won't ask if you want a good tip. I already know that. But will you earn one?